fertilize heavily.
What kind of sand is that?
Huh?
What kind of sand is that?
It's Caribbean. It's just natural sand. It's inert. There's nothing.
This will not harden your water, soften your water, or do anything.
Yeah, it's completely inert.
This is where the first row, if you get a whole bunch of sand in you, folks, sorry, that's part of the interactive thing.
It's like going to SeaWorld and getting squashed by Lolita.
Yes. It's part of the show, guys.
Camel is not cool. Yes, you can always add more plants, but there's going to be more that we're going to put on here. Now for reference, this is a 48-gallon tank, 36 inches. It is 30 by 18 inches by 18 tall. So when you put this, you got to make sure that you prop the leaves up so they don't get squished by the substrate. Squish, that's a technical term. By the way, there will be a quiz at the end of the show. If you don't answer the questions correctly, you don't get your discount. Also, wow. We also have some free goodies to give you guys. We have become an authorized Sarah dealer.
When sloping your substrate, you always want to work from the back, so it's taller in the back and lower in the front. That creates a sense of depth, so when somebody's looking at it, things further away being higher, it'll give that the tank's actually deeper than what it is.
Yes, I think it's very
48 gallons.
Roughly how many pounds of gravel?
Each of those is 20 pounds.
20, so that's 60, and I probably have how much apple cell did I use? Probably a bag and a half. At this point, if you're working with sand, I wouldn't wet it until you're done. Putting more. So now what we have to do, start working on our rock work. And in between these rocks, over here, we are going to put the anubias.
Rocks like those, anything you gotta watch out for when you select the rocks?
Just make sure they weren't treated with anything.
Can you just soak them for a couple of weeks?
You don't have to soak them. For smaller scapes, found a supplier that gets these in smaller quantities, so you don't have to buy a 40-pound bag. Lifetime supply of rock. Okay, so when you get these out of the when you buy these and they come in a pot, they're going to have some wool around them. In order to get them out, you have to actually pull the wool underwater. Otherwise, it'll rip the roots. Okay, as you pick apart the little pieces of wool, and you're down to about that much, do this. You're not going to hurt the plant, but it's going to help loosen that wool to the point that then you can take it out. The minute the wool becomes dry, it really pulls on the plants. These are very, very tough plants. Most fish will not eat them.
They actually have a toxin
Because in wool, the plant will die. Because where they're raised in these in hydroponic style, in which the pots are in a high flow of water with vitamins and nutrients. Huh? It doesn't leach. It's just that where they're grown, they have these huge trays, and you have water flowing from one end to the other that they're constantly putting in fertilizers to simulate, kind of like hydroponically grown vegetables or tomatoes or anything else. And they do that so they're easier to sell. They also sell them bare root. If you ever have a project that you know you're going to require, like a lot of people like tying these to driftwood like this, and you know you're going to want them bare root, we can actually order them for you bare root. So take advantage of that. The fact that we're willing to, to get that for you. The larger ones that we have in the tanks here are all bare roots. I'm just knocking all sorts of stuff today, aren't I? Okay, so what we want to do is we have the crypt over here that's going to give us some reds. I want to have some greens in between, but in order to hold this, I'm going to have to use a stone. Can everybody see what I'm doing? I'm actually going to wedge the roots of the Anubia between two stones. The one thing that you never want to do with Anubia, everybody see the dark green like a root? It's a hard root over here. That's called a rhizome. That part always has to be outside of the gravel or out of rocks. This lower part, you can dig it all you want. So the quickest way to kill an Anubia is to have that covered by gravel, by sand, by substrate. So as long as you cover everything up to that point, the plant will grow very healthy. So that's what I'm doing. I'm wedging between two stones like this. And then over the course of the months, these roots are going to adhere to whatever they find, and they'll grow.
Are you putting that in that substrate and pushing the rocks in, or is that just on the rocks?
It's just on the rocks. I just did that, didn't I? All right. Now, Nubias will live in extremely low light. And so it doesn't matter that they're going to be shaded, because they can tolerate extremely low light. So even being down over here, they'll continue growing and thriving. They're perfect for these types of setups. All right. Any questions so far? No? Other than, where did I do? Oh, they're just spread. Okay. So far I've been using the bags of sand, and I deliberately cut them a certain way. There is a reason. You always cut your bags across, you cut them like this. Because in order for me to fill the tank, I'm going to reuse these bags to cover the whole aquascape so it does not disturb the substrate. To keep it in place, wet the sides of the glass so the plastic will adhere to it, like cling wrap. A lot of people have been asking about this light. This is the Current USA light. Current is an American company. They also manufacture Ecozotic. All of our fish racks are lit up by Ecozotic and Current USA LEDs. We like them because when I do tech support, I can call a real live American in the United States, California time, and they walk you through. The times that I've had an issue because I burnt out a transformer, they've gone the next day, put them on to UPS, and I've gotten a replacement transformer. Okay, they are phenomenal support. Current's been making, you see that Nova Aqua Extreme lights, they've been making the T5s, compact fluorescents, and metal halides for 30 years. So they're very strong in the U.S. marketplace. But as technology is moving to LEDs, they jumped in first on the low light. Now they're jumping into these slim-line modules. The Plus comes with a remote control that you can do a couple of things. You can go do a fade to moonlight. These are dynamic fades. If we wait long enough, it'll actually fade through. You can even simulate thunderstorm. You can have different color spectrums. Look at that light versus this one versus that light. So you can change it and have a different tone. That's pushing purple. You know, if you're having certain fish in there, like cardinals, for example, you want to push out that blue, put on a little bit, pushing a little bit more blue. You can even program up to 4 memories on what color combination you like, and it'll save it. It runs on 24 volts, uses very little light, but it's the equivalent of 2 regular T5s, the bulbs, the fluorescent bulbs. Not high output, but for these applications, they're phenomenal. Plus, I also like the fact that you barely see the light. You know, it's nice, slim line. You don't have any bulbs to replace. LEDs on general, running them 15 hours a day. They have a 50,000 hour life expectancy.
That's a good question. For this tank, how long do you think?
Usually go 10 hours. For any planted tank, you want to go 10 hours. That's the effective amount of light that there is out in nature. You know, in the highlight tanks, you do different cycles. You usually need 2 timers. You need a secondary light to come in from noon to about 3 o'clock to give that extra burst to simulate, you know, the sun being overhead. But 10 hours. But this is more enough. This would be the same thing as getting, which we have from the back, the tall, you know, T5s. Granted, price-wise, You know, this is about twice as expensive as a T5, but you're also not replacing bulbs. It's a much sleeker unit, and you're using a fraction of the electricity.
That unit on the tank is $139.95.
Yep. So when you think that you have a remote control, you have dimmable, you can immediately turn it to night light. You can get whatever color you want. You can have it fade in and fade out. So when you're sitting there, you just had dinner, you're sitting in the couch, and you push, you know, play. I haven't programmed this light unit, so I'm just using it just straight out of the box. But you can set it up for it to go into nighttime. It'll slowly fade in your lights, keep it dim. If you're watching TV, a lot of times tanks bother, you know, people. So you can actually put on half power and have it so you can still see your fish. It's still pushing light, white light, as you can see, it's not strong blue, but it's now dimmer. It doesn't bother your TV viewing.
So they come for any size tank you have?
Yes, from the smallest, from an 18 to 24 inch, the largest unit is the 48 to 60 inch. Now, the units themselves, they go on the standard sizes, but the legs extend 6 inches each way to accommodate a tank in between. So here I wanted to push the most amount of light. I could have used a size smaller, the 24 to 36, but I would have a little bit less light. Because of the height of this tank, I wanted the extra LEDs in there. If I would have gone into a much lighter, lower light setup or a shorter tank, then I could have gone with a shorter light because the height limits how much light gets penetrated through the water.